Hello again, Exiles. Long time no see, and welcome to 3.28 League Start build season. Mirage is coming, and I'm usually the Kitava's Thirst, Detonate Dead of Chaining guy, but I've done that like, I don't know, 6 or 7 leagues in a row or something crazy like that. So I kind of took the build I did in Freesia, which was this most recent Freesia, which was Architect of Chaos, Dominating Blow, and I readapted it for Necromancer. And as I suspected, it's a little worse early, but it's actually becomes quite a bit stronger later on. So this is my planned league starter, Dominating Blow Necromancer. There's a little bit of poison nonsense that happens later in the build, but early on it's very similar to the original thing, except we're not scaling Fizz anymore because we get free Chaos Conversion, which is a very powerful thing indeed, because it also comes with free Wither on hit, and we have a lot of things hitting our target, which that's pretty good. The way I play the build is very simple. You get a big ass staff. You get +3 socketed gems on it. You craft that with either a fracture or through recombination with essences of fear, specifically the deafening ones. You put on the minion attack speed mod, and you have a great time about it. Very easy to make this weapon, all things considered, because it's very hard for it to improve beyond this point. Now, in the past, I was not as excited about playing Dominating Blow as a Necromancer, but that is something that has really changed over time. Specifically, this was far enough in the past that something like Replica Dragonfang's Flight didn't exist yet, and if you don't understand why this is a big deal, it's because Dominating Blow, or rather Val Domination, has very, very restrictive gem tags. If you look at it, it's a spell, it's a minion, duration, it's a Val, it's attack, it's melee, it's strike. There's no physical, there's no elemental, there's no chaos, which means when you put it on an amulet, or rather when you get an amulet with plus gem levels, you can only do all gems. Nothing else would work. Even if you got a focused amulet, it would still only go up to +2. Not so long ago, the quality on this worked differently, where quality would give you additional max sentinels. So Ashes of the Stars was kind of like a no-brainer optimal, and then even that went away. So really, things kind of dropped off, but now you can get 3 levels from Replica Dragonfang's Flight, which is astronomically good, especially for this skill. Outside of that, a big part of our scaling comes from the fact that Ghastly Eye Jewels are really fantastic if you're playing any spammable minion skill, which Val Domination, Dominating Blow is a minion skill, so we're pretty much always using it. You combine that with things like, chance to poison on hit, and our incredible Ascendancy giving us Unholy Might for our minions. That's 100% Chaos Conversion, 25% chance to apply Withered on hit. And suddenly, you have a lot of damage scaling vectors that did not exist really even that long ago, and things that have kind of been figured out by the community at large that are all very easily applied concepts to this build. So let's hop on over to the POB real quick. I have set this up with, I guess you could say there's, it's the usual thing. We have multiple leveling trees, expansive notes section with all the details that you should potentially need. And then other than that, it is a little bit more bare bones because I don't have multiple leagues of, I guess, gear data to pull from. So some of the simulated sets are very, well, artificial. But that's mostly for the more optimal form of things. The DPS gets up there pretty well, and this is without, I would call it, extravagant investment, right? I consider anything over 50 divs is about when the investment point becomes extravagant. So what I really mean by that is the Ghastly Eye Jewels are expensive, but they're kind of like the most expensive thing going on in the build. The weapon isn't that hard to make. Most of the equipment isn't going to run you more than a few divines. Major exceptions being, say, the helmet, because it has to have +2 all minion gems, and your ring, which getting good stats on your ring with minion damage roll can be pretty difficult. The cool thing about this stuff is the ring especially can actually be a lot better. You could have a minion attack speed suffix on this going up to 16%, and even the minion damage rolls aren't maximized to kind of keep things a little more legitimate. Additionally, the specters that the build is running are not the absolute best. It's just a Perfect Forest Warrior and a Carnage Chieftain. A Perfect Forest Tiger would actually be a very big improvement to throughput, but that's also a very expensive specter. So that might be it might be exacerbated because I'm testing currently in 3.27, and things like Spectre Corpses are not entering the economy as readily as they normally are. So that could be a bit different. Outside of that, the build boasts a lot of details that are really great for the League Start environment. For instance, we want to be running Purity of Elements, which is really awesome. That solves all of your elemental ailment issues. You are never getting chilled, you're never getting frozen, shocked, ignited, and neither are any of your minions. So it's kind of a nice little double dip there. Additionally, we run Determination, which helps just keep everything alive because we have good resistances baseline and an armor aura, and then also Commander of Darkness giving even more elemental resistances to our minions. Generally speaking, we and everything around us is very, very durable. And then we have other little things like Bone Barrier earlier on that gives us incredible physical damage reduction outside of like what you would expect early on in the game. And this is combined alongside the fact that we run a very like efficient, low cooldown enduring cry to give us that extra bit of mitigation there. Of course, being a build that I haven't taken super late yet, the options for like extravagant progression haven't really been explored yet. So I don't really know how much further this build actually goes. I haven't taken the time to go into that. I took the time to go into the build and make sure that it was strong in the league sense. And it is. It's very strong in the league sense because you get so much resistance naturally, and because so much of the equipment is really not that hard to get. I would say maybe the biggest exception to this potentially could be Replica Dragonfang's Flight. If a lot of people were playing this build, this could get a little more expensive. But typically this isn't too bad because Dominating Blow is just not the most played build in the universe. You know, one of the advantages of being a smaller person putting build guides out is that if I'm running a skill that's not super meta, no one's paying attention to it, and you get away with things being relatively cheap. Now, some of these pieces of equipment are expensive, but you don't get them till much later anyways. Like a good Darkness Enthroned, over 85%, can be pretty pricey. A good amount, well, not even a good, any Amanamu's Gaze can be rather expensive as well. But, again, you don't need this early on. You will get to the DPS level required to kill, you know, Quest Eater, Quest Exarch, regular Eater, regular Exarch, although you really don't want to fight regular Exarch with this build. You're better off farming Eater, and if you're farming Exarch, I would sell the invitations, honestly, because you're just not having a good time doing the meatball phase with a bunch of minions out. I don't recommend that. Outside of that, Uber Elder, Maven, even those two, especially if you know the fights, this build will absolutely clap them. And yes, of course, it is all simulated and shown here without any graphs because those are probably going away. I think it's already confirmed that they're going away. And yeah, we want to keep it, you know, relatively honest. So real quick here, I will go ahead and throw in a map and run around in it and talk about the build a bit, why I enjoy it so much. So anyway, I've got a map here to do kind of a quick little showcase and show off the build in action. And maybe talk about some of the reasons why I like this version of the build so much more than I did not so long ago even. Because some things have been added, really, since I played last that make it a lot more fun. And there you can see I just stood in front of like a whole bunch of magic mobs without anything spun up, and the build did just fine, which is really cool, right? You don't need much to keep yourself healthy. Oh, that Echo Shrine is throwing me all over the place. Current Atlas strat is kind of set up for, what is it, Abyss, which is nice. It's kind of a good way to show the build. Picking a fight with a ton of, you know, rare monsters all at the same time. Things can get a little bit crazy with that. Not too crazy. The Echoing Shrine really doesn't do anything for me. Here, I'll actually get rid of it because it's distracting. But the actual build itself does very well. And there's a lot going for it that didn't used to work in the way I like. Originally, way back in the day, before Guardian was reworked, I played this on Guardian. And the reason why I played it on Guardian was because the minions were very quick and snappy and responsive. And we lost that for a little while. It wasn't until Ritual Corpses got added to the game that getting Onslaught into your setup was easy again. And that's really something to consider, because the other way to do it, and this is probably how I should describe it, the other way to do it required you to Warcry constantly, at least once every 4 seconds. And you could set that up, but it wasn't the most fun to play. You know, no one wants to be stuck clicking a button on command repeatedly over and over again like that. It's really not what you're after when you play this type of a game. It's a very repetitive type of playstyle. I mean, you could even... I always kind of worry that there's like an RSI thing that going on with Path of Exile, with the design of some builds because of how you have to play them. And that's definitely one of them. But we don't have to worry about that anymore. We have Perfect Forest Warrior, who not only gives us that, who not only is a strong Spectre who helps us spin up at the start of the map, but probably most importantly, he culls. which is something the build typically doesn't have, at least not in a really easy way, right? You'd have to do something funky, like put it on your travel skill or something. We don't have to worry about that. It's just automatic. It's more feel-good gameplay. And we already have enough business to deal with, you know, just occasionally war crying and using our various skills on cooldown, our various guard skills off cooldown when we need them. And then, like, remembering to put up Val Domination. And Val Domination really is probably the most important thing to be good about in this build. Because, you need it. It's a huge part of the clear speed. It gives you these massive sentinels, and the big thing about them is that they basically throw out sunders constantly, which is an awesome way to deal a bunch of clear, you know, a bunch of damage and clear. Of course, currently, the build does not have any real grafts in. I got the initial graft, because, of course I did. You need that to get through the walls, and then I never touched anything else with the character, so that all of these simulations and whatnot were accurate. We killed the map boss at some point during all of that. I will say that might be a negative for some people. The build challenges your visibility a little bit. And maybe the other big negative is it's especially bad for Searing Exarch, but I think that goes for a lot of minion builds, so I'm not gonna harp on that too much. That's just a reality of the way the those skills work in the meatball phase. Outside of that, the build's very durable. It's very easy to get geared. You can very easily find Chaos Res because of how easy it is to gear, which is great. Personally, I'm thinking about going for Ritual early on next league, and I think that's going to be a great moneymaker early. It's going to give me a chance to maybe farm some of my own corpses, right? Because, like, I don't recommend a Perfect Forest Tiger. I'd like to have one, but if you look at the prices of them right now in Keepers, it's insanity. And I don't, you know, I'd rather farm that myself, I guess. And this will give me the opportunity to do that on top of just, you know, in general being a fairly decent moneymaker. Selling invitations is pretty good money. Running them yourselves is fine money if you get enough of them. Tell you something funny, though. This is actually my second time doing the showcase, because the first time I didn't minimize my POB window, so it got completely covered up. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is, you know. A little bit of making the sausage moment. That's the build. Kind of a quicker build guide here, because it's a very simple build. There's not a lot that goes into this that's very complicated. I would say it's even beginner friendly, all things considered. It plays very smoothly. You have buttons to press and they're impactful. But really, most of the time, you're using movement skills and you're right-clicking to get in on the action a little bit and keep your guys spun up. Outside of that, Enduring Cry, occasionally, you don't even have to do it like off cooldown or anything like that. We have enough cooldown recovery through a 20% gem, and from the nodes we go through here to get the minimum power mastery, that it's very comfortable to keep that up. It's not really a big deal. You can also keep it as like an emergency heal, which is always nice to have. The build gets a tremendous amount of block. I believe currently it has, 70, 67. It could be a little higher. In fact, we can definitely cap it with a bit more investment and some higher levels. We're only level 90. Another 8 levels, at least by my standards, would be very easy to acquire, and we'll get a lot more power from those. Things like another endurance charge, another basic jewel socket, room for maybe tattoos and the like, because you can get some block that way for sure. And then just equipment in general on what I have here is like very, I'd say very attainable. The most expensive thing would probably be the jewels that I'm running, because I wanted to get a feel for how good Amonimus Gaze would actually be, which is, this is a very nice kind of later game upgrade you get for the build, because we're doing all chaos damage and we're withering. Poison is very, very effective. But yeah, that's all. I'll see you on Mirage launch. I'll be here streaming as per usual. The build guide, again, in the POB, big notes section should have everything you need here. If it's not here, you can bother me while I'm streaming. I'm happy to be bothered. You can come by, you can say hi, you can ask about this build or one of the other two, or you can just call me bald. It's all great, especially if you come by and ask me a question about something that's not in here, because this is version 1.0 of this guide, and I'm only human, so I have to hope that I've gotten all the details down that a person's going to need. Outside of that, yeah, I check the comments, especially when I've got new guides out, because I know there's going to be something I missed. There's just no way around it otherwise. This section, recorded later, is about the patch notes and league reveal, not that they've happened. Imbued gems came around, and not the biggest factor for this build. Val Domination, first of all, is a Val skill, which imbuing gems corrupts them, so they don't play well with Val skills. Additionally, we want the levels, so it's kind of like a double whammy. You can get a 21-20 Val Domination. I don't think you can get a 21 imbued gem, unless there's something I'm missing. That said, something like Ray's Spectre, getting a level 1 Feeding Frenzy could be very nice, because the Feeding Frenzy buff does not scale with gem level. So you could get that in all sorts of ways. There's a lot of other very relevant supports that could potentially take our kind of support Spectres and maybe have them contribute a little bit more. So that's the one thing to really keep an eye out for there. Anyway, have a good one, Exiles.